The first week of training camp is done and in the books. Let's recap the whole week and talk about some things that we haven't been able to talk about on a daily basis.
Inside, and a beauty! Hall running free! Brees Hall inside the 10! He's gonna score!
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today we're going to be recapping the whole week. I've been able to talk to a lot of the people that were there at training camp to get some more insights from a bunch of different people, and we're going to just talk about this first week, recapping the first full week, and talk about some of the things that I heard from the multiple people that I talked to that seem kind of true and things that we should focus on. The first thing that I want to talk about and the first thing that I kept hearing was obviously there was no pads, so the advantage was for the defense, which is what we expected, right? I talked about this in today's earlier recap. When there are no pads on, the defense is going to win. The offense has a hard time placing their hands where they need to be, but the offensive tackles are having a hard time with their players, especially when you look at like some of the defensive guys who have gotten bigger, badder, and stronger, a la Jermaine Johnson. If you want to recap on that, watch the video that I did earlier today. But I think the biggest takeaways that we saw from this week is Aaron Rodgers is slowly but surely becoming more comfortable with our guys and with our offenses. And we see that in the stark contrast from the beginning of the week where he was really kind of just doing what the defense gave him, dinking and dunking and trying to just get completions to get the offense going, as opposed to later on in the week where you saw him really start to become unconservative, really start to open up the playbook, really start to open up these deep shots and start taking shots down the field. And while they didn't necessarily always work out in his favor, you can see that he's starting to test the abilities of his new wide receivers and his defense, which is arguably one of the best in the NFL. So very, very confident signs there. He's starting to get more comfortable in the offense, and that's that. Garrett Wilson has absolutely stood out and shined. It's absolutely insane that Garrett Wilson is a New York Jet. It just blows my mind. And in that same draft, we got Sauce Gardner, and in that same draft, we got Jermaine Johnson. And after this year, after Jermaine Johnson's blowout year, which I've talked about, and I totally expect is going to happen, we're going to see some really, really good conversations and talks about this last draft class for the New York Jets because, wow, is that class just so freaking good? And I hope that we can maintain that with the one that we just saw. Another thing that's very, very interesting to look at is this competition that we're seeing in the offensive tackle room. The entire week, and specifically, let's just talk about the whole offensive line. The entire week, we're seeing this rotation of offensive tackles. Billy Turner and Mekhi Becton rotating in and out at left tackle and competing there. Max Mitchell on the right side of the offensive line, and he's been having a really good camp from what I've been able to hear. And then the centers as well. One thing that really surprised me that I heard from multiple people is that Wes Schweitzer legitimately seems to be a contender for the center position. Like, he's in that competition, and he has been doing relatively well. And while Connor McGovern has been getting a majority of the first team snaps and Joe Tippmann has been getting a majority of the second team snaps, the one thing that I can say and the one thing that I have seen is that the second team offensive line is having a much better competition versus the second team defensive line versus the first team offensive line versus our first team defensive line. While I'm not saying that the second team offensive line is winning more often, it's just that they seem more evenly matched than the first team defensive line and first team offensive line, which, not surprising, very expected. The defensive line is our biggest unit. Another person that we haven't talked about but has been having himself quite a week is Corey Davis. Corey Davis has been targeted often this week. He has been looking really, really good this week and has been catching a lot of balls and has been very, very impressive. But I think the biggest competition or the biggest storyline coming out of camp for me is going to be the tight ends. Specifically, the first 3 tight ends on the depth chart with CJ Uzomah out. As we know, CJ Uzomah injured, not fully healthy, totally come to expected. That Tyler Conklin, Jeremy Ruckert, and Kenny Yeboah were going to get more reps, and that's exactly what we're seeing. The first team reps have been split between Tyler Conklin and Jeremy Ruckert, and they are making the most out of it. We talked about Tyler Conklin and what he was able to do in today's earlier video, but this week Jeremy Ruckert has been being solid. Yes, that there were some flash plays that we can talk about, but I think the biggest thing that we can say is that this right now, what we're seeing with the tight end group is something that we can't really, there's not anything to complain about. And I think that is the most important part. And then another thing, and we've talked about it this week, but we're getting really, really fiery at practice. The defense wants to be the best defense in the league. This offense wants to be the best offense in the league, and that is leading to skirmishes. That is leading to some dust-ups, and that's absolutely fine. And as long as we're not seeing any like punches being thrown or anything along those lines, which we're not seeing, we're just seeing people really get in each other's faces. With all of that being said, the fieriness is only adding to the competition, and that's what everybody says. It's nothing personal. You just get in the moment, and you just want to get in someone's face, and you just look at the guy in the other colored jersey, and you just get in their face. This has been a story of the defense in the first part of this training camp. Let's see what the second part has to hold once pads get on. Can the offense continue to get better and progress slowly? Can the defense continue to dominate? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, because I have no idea where this is going. And last but not least, go Jets.